Hi, it's Mike here at Michaela Gardens, and I'm continuing my discussion of massing and yet also texture and compatibility of colors. So I'm going to point out some examples that these are all very, very easy things to grow, and I think give very pleasing effects, especially this time of year when, as I said, in middle October, you're almost thinking that gardening is over and the only thing that you can have to show for it are, going out and buying some nice big wonderful mums, which is certainly fun to have, but you can be cultivating your garden so that you have some things in place that will add to just the visual satisfaction that you get throughout the year. This right here is a pink annual grass, and admittedly it won't come back in my zone year after year, but I love the color. It definitely is something that we strive for in our gardens, is to have some of this red, burgundy, something that just kind of catches your eye in a slightly different way than many of the colors that are more prevalent in our garden. So I have this wonderful pink grass, and then I have, as you can see, repetition. So by having one here, a couple up there, I've now got depth and I've got a certain degree of massing. I also have repetition of color with those pink crimson barberry bushes. Actually, they're not pink, they're more maroon, aren't they? But so now I have repetition of color, but I have variety of texture and shape happening. So your eye looks at it and it feels comfortable because it's got some similarity of color, but it's registering the fact that, ooh, different texture, different height. So that's kind of a nice little scene that, provides satisfaction this time of year. Then if I step over just a little bit, I've got the wonderful massing and repetition of this Russian sage. So here we have a plant here, then we move up a level, and we get into a tremendous massing of it into there. Frankly, half of them were planted on purpose. Russian sage does spread. That's not something I was aware when I first put Russian sage in, but it's given me just an incredible statement of, wow, look at that. And part of the reason that my Russian sage is in bloom now, this is my second go-round with bloom. And this is something that trial and error, maybe you could find a book that tells you to do this, but after I get my first go-round of bloom with Russian sage in probably late July through August, I cut it back. I take a stem like this and I go all the way back to getting rid of that bloom as it's faded. And then I get a bonus round. I mean, that for me as a gardener is practically like winning the lottery. I get a second go-round of the bloom of my Russian sage this time of year because the temperatures are cooler than they are in the middle of summer. The color is more intense. So more intense color, second go-round of bloom, wonderful massing, so lots of texture, some contrast, which is pleasing. I just find this a very satisfying little composition and something to think about.